Hello everybody, this is IconBuster57 here once again, and it's time for another movie thoughts. Well, I'd say movie thoughts, not movie review, because, well, we all know how you guys feel about my reviews. But I thought I'd give you a quick thoughts on how I felt about the new movie, X Men Orgins Wolverine. But before we get to that, I got a question for all you guys out there. Are you guys having problems with your mail on YouTube? It seems that you used to be able to, when you see that you have a new personal message or a new comment, you used to be able to go into your mail, click on it, see what it was, click out of it, and it would go away. It would stop telling you have a new message or whatever. Well, now, for me, the only way I can get it to stop telling me I have a new comment or a new personal message is by deleting it. Like if I have a new shared with you video, I have to delete it. I can't just put it away for later. Or it's kind of annoying because like maybe I don't want to erase the comment out of my mailbox, but if I don't erase the comment out of the mailbox and somebody comments on the same video, it will always tell me I only have one comment instead of two comments. And well, I have to erase that comment in order to know I have another comment. Not that it actually erases the comment out of the video, but it's still kind of annoying. I usually just click on it and click out, but now it's like click on it, and then I have to delete it, and then it'll go away, and I won't have to worry about it no more. So, if you send me a shared with you video, and I don't watch it, it's because I erased it. Sorry. So, moving on. X Men Orgins Wolverine. Now, I'm going to say something very controversial about this movie. I love this movie. Now, for granted, okay, here's something I'm going to say, another thing I'm going to say controversial. I didn't really like X Men 1. I mean, I thought it was okay, but it seems that one thing that the critics are getting down on this movie is how it doesn't relate to comic books. But in X Men 1, you had Iceman as a little kid, and Wolverine seemed to be a part of this original group, where anyone who knows anything about the X-Men comic, Iceman was one of the original X-Men, and so was Angel. Angel wasn't part of this group. They didn't know who Angel was, and just a lot of the people that they had playing little kids in that movie were actually a part of the original X-Men, and I just thought that was if you want to be a stickler on a comic book, that's one thing you can complain about the original X-Men movie. But I actually just thought the original X-Men movie, it was a good movie, don't get me wrong, I liked it to some points. I thought it was a good setup for X-Men 2, which I really loved. I loved X-Men 2, and I still think X-Men 2 is the best out of all the X-Men movies. But I think that X Men Origins Wolverine is my second favorite out of the whole X-Men saga. And the only problem I had with this movie, I had two problems with this movie, with the X Men Origins. The first problem is the special effects they used for the claws. I thought Wolverine's claws were horrible in this movie. His bone claws looked ugly, and his metal claws look so fake. There's one scene that he pulls his claws out when he first gets them, his metal claws when he first gets them. I thought, man, they look just like rubber. And then, the only other complaint about this movie goes back to kind of the idea that this is a precursor to the original X-Men movie. And the only reason why that makes no sense to me is because in this movie, Sabretooth is so important. Where in the X-Men movie, Sabretooth acted like he didn't even know who Wolverine was. Wolverine was a complete stranger, and see, that's another reason why I was like, the comic book, that's another one of my complaints from the original X-Men movie, because I thought, Sabretooth is acting like he doesn't know who Wolverine is, and Wolverine grew up with Sabretooth, and that's from the comic books too. Well, not so much grew up with Sabretooth, but they had they've been battling since Canada, they've been battling since Wolverine first got his claws or whatever. But yeah, that was that was my complaint about the X Men movie. where they in X Men Origins, now that they show there was a relationship between Sabretooth, I think that whole bit, it makes that whole bit in X Men even look even dumber. The fact that, he doesn't know, Sabretooth acts like he doesn't know who Wolverine is. So that's really my biggest complaint about the movie, is that when you go to watch Wolverine X Men Origin, you just kind of got to take it as, the best thing to do is take a couple amnesia bullets to the head before going to see this movie, because the best way to enjoy this movie is to forget that anything else about Wolverine even exists. Because if this was the first story to ever come out about Wolverine, I think this would have been a great movie. I think this would have been a great first adaptation of Wolverine. But since we've seen Wolverine in 3 other movies, and this is supposed to be the precursor to those movies, and the story in here doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, it makes sense, but at the same time, it doesn't really go well with the rest of the movies. I think that's where people are having trouble with this movie, and I don't blame them, because it's like, what the hell. And one thing I did like, my favorite thing about this movie was Gambit. I don't know what people are saying about Gambit in this movie. I liked it. I thought the special effects they did with him were pretty cool. Wish there could have been more of him. He was only in it for like a good maybe 10 minutes out of the whole movie. But every scene he was in, I liked. I liked the way they did Gambit. Gambit's always been one of my favorite X-Men characters, and I wish they would have put him more in the other X-Men movies instead of this one. I wish they would have put him in. I wish they would have gave him maybe his own movie, because he wasn't with the X-Men, and I think Gambit has his own comic book, so I would have liked to see him maybe get his own movie. The Deadpool thing doesn't bother me too much. I'm not real familiar with Deadpool. I'm not real familiar with all the comic books. I'm not a comic book expert. Don't watch this and think I'm trying to play myself off as some kind of comic book expert, because I'm not. I don't know Deadpool that well. I know that he, from what I've seen in other videos, people say he's the Merc with the mouth, and I kind of like that kind of character, so I would have liked it if, even at the end, he would have had more lines, or he would have talked, except for they made him this ultimate monster. Which, you know what, a lot of people complain, but I thought it was pretty cool. I kind of like the laser eyes and stuff like that. I'm easily entertained by pretty colors, and this movie had a lot of pretty colors. It had a lot of cool mutant characters in it, which I know they kind of just shoved them in there, but, I liked it. I like seeing them, but I wish they would have been able to do more with them. It really did feel like they were shoving characters in, and it would have been better if they could have done more storylines with them. But, overall, I give X-Men Origin. I pass it. I had fun watching this movie in the movie theater, and I know a lot of people really hated this movie, but I really liked it. And so if you haven't seen the movie, it's one of those things where if you haven't seen this movie, don't listen to critics or reviewers online or whatever. Just go see it and find out whether or not you like it. Because let's say you're not even into action movies or whatever, or if you are into action movies but you don't know nothing about Wolverine, and say you missed the first 3 X-Men movies, this would actually be a nice movie for you to see, to kind of, introduce you a little bit to it. But I do suggest afterwards watching the first 3 X-Men movies. X-Men 3, I didn't like X-Men 3. X-Men 1 was okay. It's not like my favorite movie or nothing. X-Men 2 was awesome. And this movie, it was fun. I had fun watching this movie. X-Men 2, still the best. Still the best out of the entire series, in my opinion. Just like Spider-Man 2 is my favorite out of all the Spider-Man movies. Love Dr. Octopus in that movie. But yeah, I like this movie. It's not going to go down as the greatest movie of all time, but I like this movie. And I just wish they would have had more. I just wish it could have been more coherent to the later, or to the earlier movies or whatever. But it was fun. It was fun. So go watch it, enjoy it, and that's all I have to say. This is the Icon Buster saying, Wolverine, you've been busted. Everyone, have a good one.